Good morning, welcome to another video from earnped.com. I am StevieB, I'll be your host today. Today I want to look at why Melee seems so expensive in Entropia Universe. So we're at Borges, we're here at the trade terminal. Let's take a look at the Castorian Combat Blade B Limited. This is the starter sword on Calypso that everybody gets from the trade terminal when you very first start skilling Melee. Now you can also get the short blade, the knife, or the brass knuckles as I like to call them. But today we're going to look specifically at the Castorian Combat Blade B, the sword. So you'll notice it's got a cost of 15 PED. We're going to go ahead and purchase this. And real quick, let's take a moment to get the keyboard set up. So one of the very first things that people do when they start playing Entropia is they realize that they're spending a lot of money on ammo, they're spending a lot of money on limited guns such as pistols and rifles, and they always want to find a way to do things cheaper, right? As Entropians, we like cheap, we're cheap people. So they think, hey, Melee might be cheaper, it doesn't use ammo, all we got to do is worry about decay, so Melee may be the way to go. But what they realize really quickly is the decay is pretty hellacious. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at the stats real quick for the Castorian Blade B as a base weapon. It's got 6.1 DPS. We've got only 57.4% efficiency. As you guys know, with Loot 2.0, efficiency is king. The higher the efficiency, the better. You always want those high efficiency weapons, right? If you'll notice, my stats are pretty well maxed on it. The reason I'm using this is my Melee sucks. I focused on rifle and pistol and defense skills, and my Melee absolutely blows. So that's something I'm trying to work on between now and Christmas. I do already have this weapon maxed out. However, I do not have the next one maxed out, which is why I figured this was a great time to make this video and go over why it seems more expensive. So what we're going to do is we are going to amp this sword with the Melee Trauma Amplifier 1, and that will bring our efficiency up to 62.3%. It's still not great, but it's better. Below 50% efficiency is absolute crap. 50 to 60 is average for most people, I guess. 60 to 70% is considered pretty good. Most of the Armatrix, if not all of the Armatrix weapons, are in the 60 to 70 range. 60 to 66, I should say, before you amp them. Anything over 70% efficiency is considered pretty much uber efficient, and those are weapons that are going to cost you a fortune. So I'm going to actually keep this up so we can kind of track the TT value here of this weapon as we go. Let's start with the curb over here. So let's just start swinging. So if you'll notice, we're already down over 10 pek in like 3 swings. There was 4 pek a swing, 2 pek a swing, 4 pek a swing. So swinging this thing is very, very expensive, right? Especially compared to what we're normally used to. This weapon has a total of 550 uses before it needs to be turned into TT food because it will have no TT value left. Let's compare that to my BP20 FEN that I use on a daily basis. It's got 83% efficiency, and it's got over 8,000 uses before I have to repair it. So I think one of the reasons that Melee seems so expensive is because the decay is just ridiculous compared to the other weapons that we're used to dealing with. But is it really? Let's think about that for a minute. We don't have any ammo cost. With a regular weapon, we have ammo cost. With a gun or a rifle, we're using ammo. We can use anywhere from a few hundred to a few thousand ammo per shot. When you think of Melee in terms of ammo saved, the decay makes more sense. Because of the fact that you're not using the ammo, the decay on the weapon is going to be greater. And you guys are about to see the other reason that Melee seems so expensive. I'm level 30 evader. Normally, I could start with a rifle and I could tag something pretty far out, and by the time it got to me, it wouldn't be any big deal. I could finish it off with a pistol. I could keep using a rifle, but I wouldn't have to draw in several mobs at once. I wouldn't have to stop to fap. I'm level 30 evader. This is level 6. There's some level 4s, 3s, some other stuff around here. Notice that I have to get really, really close to be able... sorry, I switched to the gun, my bad. Notice that I have to get really, really close to be able to attack with this sword because it's a close range weapon, right? That means I'm going to have more mobs that are going to be on me at almost all times. It means I'm going to have to stop very, very often to FAP. It means that if I wear armor, I'm going to have much, much greater armor cost than normal. And this is another reason that melee can be so very, very excessive, is because you get more mobs on you, you're going to get attacked more, you're going to have more fapping costs, you're going to have more armor decay, you're going to have all those things. We've only killed one mob and we're already down over a PED and a half. That's pretty ridiculous. So actually I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish a couple of these off with the gun, just because it's going to make life easier to make the video. We've got a ton of mobs right here in a very short range. Go ahead and pull out the BP-20. So, as you guys can see, there's already some very valid reasons why melee looks so expensive. It's because it is. You have increased decay costs because you're not using ammo. That means that you're going to see much greater decay on your weapon than what you're typically used to. Much, much greater, I should say. If you choose to put an amp on it, the amp is going to help raise the efficiency a little. That might help in terms of loot return, but it's not going to help lower that decay. Even with an extender, you don't really see much. All you really do is you eat through extenders very, very quickly. You know, a typical P20 extender that takes 20% of the deterioration off of a weapon on a pistol or a rifle is going to last you quite some time. On a sword, not so much. On a knife, not so much. So it's also going to eat through those extenders. If you'll notice, I'm using a TT sword. Reason being is I need to move on to the next sword, so obviously this is the one I want to stick with. But I also don't want to pay markup on something and have to put an extender on it and start eating markup through an extender and through the item itself. So what can we do about this? Well, there's actually a couple things we can do. And there's some good improvements that have been made by MindArc. One of the things is you only have to deal with this kind of in the very beginning. Once you get past this TT sword, you do have some options. The reason being is a while back, MindArc added decay to melee weapons. The reason they they didn't add decay, they added ammo to TT weapons to lower the decay. And that's exactly why they did it. The reason the decay was so high was because they don't use ammo. By adding an ammo cost to the weapon, they're able to bring the decay more in line with what we're used to with pistols and rifles. So actually, while I'm finishing this guy off here, let's look at this, the Armature Long Blade LB10 Limited. Notice there's an ammo cost of 998 ammo burn per stroke. So every time you use that sword, you're burning 1,000 ammo. Well, yeah, that might seem counterintuitive for a melee weapon to use ammo, but by doing that, that weapon is going to have much lower decay than its TT counterpart. So it's going to look and feel more like what we're used to. It's really just a psychological thing on the decay end most of the time. Now, there are some melee weapons that have just horrendous decay, and there's nothing you can do about it. But a large part of the reason melee seems so expensive is with that ammo cost not being in there for a lot of weapons, the decay is larger than what we're used to. It's a psychological thing. By adding ammo burn to the weapon, MindArc was able to lower the overall amount of decay that the weapon has. Therefore, it seems more like what we're used to with a rifle or with a pistol. They did that as a way to make it not so hard on us psychologically. So you'll notice that I am not quite to being able to use the Armature LB10 yet, even though I can do almost I can do the full damage range. But you'll notice that my hit and my critical hit are not quite there, 7.2 out of 10 and 5.5 out of 10. That's because my damage skills were already where they needed to be to do the full damage range, but because I had not done a lot of meleeing, my hit skills were not there. There's a lot of crossover between melee and rifle, between melee and pistol, melee and defense. So my damage was kind of already there, but my hit was way off. So a couple more of these TT swords, I should have my hit where it needs to be, and I can move on to the Armatrix LB10. I'll have a lot better decay, even though I will be burning ammo. Another reason I think Melee seems so expensive is the kind of returns you get and how fast it is. So we're used to cycling lots and lots of PED of ammo, thousands and thousands of PED worth of ammo whenever we go out on a hunt, right? That's what we're used to with our pistols and our rifles. It's faster to kill with a rifle and a pistol most of the time than it is with a sword. You're close combat, so I can't even start doing damage until I'm right up on them, whereas usually I can start with a rifle from way back. So if we watch the returns kill by kill, it really seems pretty bad. It seems like we're putting out a lot of decay on weapons that have an ammo cost. It seems like we're putting out a lot of ammo burn for not a lot of return. Really what our problem is it's our speed of kill. We get slowed down by having to FAP. We get slowed down by having multiple mobs on us. It looks like we're putting out a lot in terms of decay and ammo burn and not getting a lot back in terms of loot. Really, it's just the speed we're working with. I went out and did a little test last night. I went out and I was using this exact same TT sword on FAL. And actually, over a large sample size of FAL, it was pretty decent. The returns were not horrible at all. And of course somebody had to run by me with like 9 mobs. No way. So with a large sample size of FAL, it was not bad at all. The problem was the speed it took to kill them. So as a little bit of a comparison, after that I pulled out the Armatrix BP20 FEN, and I just started slaughtering FAL left and right. And I ended up, by the end of it, I hit a global that was like 227 PED. It was a whole lot of shrapnel and some gun. It's a limited gun. I'll probably throw it on auction later. But I noticed that it wasn't necessarily the returns were any different, so to speak. It was the sample size I was working with. It was how fast I was killing them. We're so used to just slaughtering mobs left and right with our pistols and our rifles that when we have to use a close combat weapon like a sword or a knife, and it slows the process down, and then it gets slowed down even more because we have to FAP, or we have to switch over to a different weapon to take out a large number of mobs that are on us. It just seems like it's ungodly slow, comparatively speaking. So what we usually end up with is a situation where we get bored, we get tired, we say, okay, you know what, I'm done hunting. Well, if you've only killed 50 to 60 mobs in your hunt run, that's not enough of a sample size. Everybody who knows me knows I advocate hunts of bare minimum 500 to 1,000 creatures to really get good average loot returns. Try and get you some kind of a global, not necessarily anything good, just something to kind of take the variance out. You can't do that with a run of 50 to 60, and I think that's a big part of the problem. The kills are so slow, you end up saying, screw it, I want to go do something else. I either want to go craft or mine or switch to a different weapon, or I just don't want to play Entropia anymore right now at all. So you've got a very small sample size. You probably didn't give yourself enough time to get average loot returns. You didn't give yourself enough time to really get a global or a Hall of Fame, and therefore your loot returns are going to absolutely suck. So all of those things kind of wrap together make Melee look, seem, and feel very, very expensive. And in the beginning, it can be. Another good reason is in the beginning, you don't have a ton of skills. So the system is going to award you a lot of skills. There are those out there who say that when the system does that, by definition, it is not going to award you a ton of loot. It's going to award you skills, it's going to award you loot, it's not going to award you both in huge increments, right? The system does seem pretty balanced. So if your skills are growing pretty quickly, then your loot returns might not be. All those things added together are a big, big reason why most people stay away from Melee. And especially in the beginning when you're first learning Entropia, when you're first starting out and you don't have defense skills, you don't have decent paramedic skills or a decent FAP, you don't have decent armor, and most of all you're free to play where you're working with a very limited bankroll, Melee can honestly probably be a very stupid move. You really need to get into the game, learn what you like and don't like, learn the mobs, learn the weapons, learn the economy, learn what works for you, then move on to Melee. It's not something I would recommend for somebody day one. I just absolutely would not do it because of the fact it's going to make people want to quit the game because of the amount of decay, because of the cost with it. It's just going to make people want to quit. One second, guys. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry about that. So, it's one of those things, I don't typically encourage people to do it right off the bat, but one of the reasons that I do encourage melee skilling, one of the reasons that I'm doing it right now, it has a ton of health benefits. If you suck in bed and you can't last more than 30 seconds, melee is the answer. It is the thing that will raise all of your stats. It'll give you all that great strength that you need to keep on going through the day. It'll give you all those hit points that you need to keep taking damage time after time. In fact, if you actually will pull up the hit and damage professions for swordsman, knife fighter, brawler, you'll see that virtually 90% of the skills that contribute to melee also contribute to HP. And a lot of them have very, very low thresholds where you don't need a whole lot of points in order to get another HP. This is why a lot of people that have high HP, they got there through skilling melee or partially through skilling melee. Let's just run through a couple here. Let's run through actually the sword fighter one. I'm sorry, that's the one that we're currently on. Excuse me, guys. So, excuse me. So, sword fighter hit agility. Yes, there's a HP increase every 40 HP. Strength, there's an HP increase every 20 HP. Combat reflexes, HP increase every 1600. Combat sense, HP increase every 800 points. Commando, HP increase every 200 points. Heavy melee weapons, no HP increase. Long blades, no HP increase. Martial arts, every 400 points. Melee combat, every 533 points. Bravado, every 2000 points. Coolness, every 400 points. Courage, every 320 points. Dexterity, every 80 points. Perception and serendipity, every 1600 points. So literally, with the hit skill for swordsman, every single skill related to the hit skill, except for heavy melee weapons and long blades, has some kind of an HP rise once you hit a certain level of that particular skill. So the only two that don't are heavy melee weapons and long blades. Why? Well, long blades, it accounts for 39% of the swordsman hit profession. It is by far the highest. All the rest of these skills I just named, they account for 1 to 7% of the profession. So the long blade skill itself counts for 39% of the entire swordsman hit profession. If it's that big of a deciding factor in the profession, why would they also make it give you HP? Because clearly you're going to need a ton of it, so it's what you're mainly going to be striving for, right? So they could, that'd be really awesome, but obviously it's mind dark, and they decided if it's going to be 39% of the profession, there's no sense. The long blade skill by itself is also 39% of the damage profession. Or I'm sorry, take that back, it's 25% of the damage profession. So what does the damage profession look like? Strength, 7%. Again, HP every 20 increases in strength. Inflict melee damage is 5%, kill strike 10%, long blades is 25% of the damage profession. Melee combat is 5% but you get an HP every 533 points. Melee damage assessment 14%, wounding 10%, serendipity 4%, anatomy 20%. So if the question is why is the damage going to naturally be higher than the hit, notice that anatomy is 20% of the damage profession for swordsman. And notice that the long blade skill is 25%, right? So if you've been using pistols, rifles, practically any weapon at all in game, you're going to have a large amount of anatomy points. That is going to naturally mean that your damage should be higher than your hit when you first start off. It's one of the reasons that I can do the full range of damage, but I don't have the ability to hit them to the fullest extent of their weapon's capability. That's the reason I'm stuck with this TT sword for probably 2 or 3 more of these things before I can move on to the LB10. So really though, long term, is melee more expensive? Well, it's going to be a little bit expensive whenever you first start, whenever you first get those skills going, but honestly, it's not as expensive as people think, and here's why. So once you get out of this TT hell that I'm currently in, where you can use the LB10, the Armature LB10, then that ammo cost gets added in there, right? So it becomes on par with a pistol or a rifle. You're going to see less decay because you're going to be burning ammo as you swing. So that is going to make it seem like a more normal weapon. It's going to seem like it's more what we're normally used to, right? That is going to help you psychologically get going. The bigger factor is once you get into melee, melee is actually pretty cheap. Whenever you have to go out and buy another weapon, they tend to sell less often and they have less markup than what we would see out of pistols and rifles that are similar in damage abilities, level abilities, usage abilities. So the cost to replace the weapon is going to be less. Yes, you can use those extenders. They do eat through them fairly quickly at this early stage, but once you start adding in the ammo costs, not so much. You're going to see it more on par with rifles and pistols. So your replacement cost becomes less. The other thing is as you skill, you will get more HP than your rifle and pistol counterparts. Your strength will grow up easier compared to your rifle and pistol counterparts. So if you're out mining, if you're out carrying loot, you'll be able to carry more loot because you'll have more strength than the people who strictly focus on pistol and rifle. The other thing you'll notice is if you've noticed throughout the video, I've already gotten this sword to tier 3.1 just in the time that you guys have been watching. So if you guys have seen my other videos about tiers and making money with high tier items, you'll know part of the reason that's important. I would not necessarily add damage enhancers to a limited sword because it's just going to increase the decay. But there are certain enhancers that you can use if you have the weapon tiered up that can actually add to the longevity of the weapon's life. You can actually add some economy enhancers. So if you're dealing with a melee weapon that has a pretty ridiculous decay rate or has a pretty ridiculous markup rate, and for some reason it makes sense for you to be using it, and you have some open enhancer slots, it might, quote unquote, air quote, might be one of those times that you might consider economy enhancers. Now, I don't generally like economy enhancers. I don't think they really serve the function that they were initially intended for. I think they break way too fast to be of use most of the time. But they do have some functionality in game, and melee, depending on the weapon, depending on the tier, depending on the decay rate, may or may not be one of the places that can come in handy. There are other opportunities with certain melee weapons if you can get them high tiered enough to be able to use a lot of damage enhancers while having a lot of TT life left. They can be very valuable in certain competitions that happen every couple of months here on Calypso. that we might have just finished at Halloween. It kind of depends on the competition. You have to know which competition you would need it in, but it can be done. So overall, Melee is expensive when you very first start, guys. There's no way around it, especially with these TT swords. You've got to do very, very long hunts. It takes way longer to kill. The decay is absolutely atrocious, but if you can get past TT hell, if you can get past right here, and see, I literally just burned the sword. I managed to burn the entire sword in 25 minutes. So compare that to a pistol that will last you hours, right? Yep, literally burn the entire sword in right at 25 minutes. So if you can get past TT hell with the TT weapons, as far as Melee goes, and you can get to the weapons that actually have ammo consumption, it's psychologically going to be easier. There are a ton of great reasons to use Melee. My goal right now is to get my Melee kind of on par with my rifle and my pistol skills. I believe my laser rifle is 37, my BLP pistol is like 32, my evader is 30, and my Melee is like 11. So Melee is definitely dragging behind. But I want to get everything kind of on par because I would like to keep a pretty balanced avatar. So if I can get past this TT hell with, 3, 4, 5 more of these TT swords, I'll be good to go. Because then they'll start using ammo burn. It'll be more like using a rifle or a pistol. I'll be able to see my HP go up, my strength will go up, my fapping skills I'm sure will go up. If you notice, I did pick mobs that I could pretty much hunt naked even with just a little bit of fapping, because I really don't like the thought of standing there for 2 hours trying to kill something with a weapon that only puts out 6 DPS and just having my armor decay right and left the entire time. So Melee can be very beneficial. There are a few other things about Melee that I'm not just going to throw out right now. I can tell you guys this. I have it on good authority, and I have double-checked the math, that Melee can, air quotes can, be cheaper than rifle and pistol. It can actually be one of the cheapest ways to hunt in the entire game. So I'm not going to tell you guys exactly what the key to that is, but I will tell you this: I have not quite hit on it in the video. I came close once, but I did leave out one little bitty detail. But there is a way that if you are a well-rounded avatar that has all of their professions kind of balanced, there is a way to make Melee hunting one of the cheapest ways to hunt in the entire game. There is one way to hunt that is even cheaper than Melee, but it is definitely not pistols and rifles. I can guarantee you that. It's something totally different, but essentially rifles and pistols are the most expensive way to go. The problem is all this money you have to put into it at the beginning, all the time, how slow the kills are, how bad the loot returns seem because of the small amount of kills you're getting, and how long it's taking to get those kills. It seems like it's more expensive. Really, when you do the math, it's not necessarily that much more expensive, and especially once you get onto the better weapons. Now once you move into the unlimited weapons, that's where you really have to sit down and start calculating up, okay, does it have only decay? What's the decay cost? Does it have decay plus ammo burn? How often is it going to need repairs? Can it even last as long as I need to hunt? So it does get a little bit more complicated later on, but it can be one of the cheapest ways to hunt in Entropia Universe. So that said, I hope you guys got some great takeaways from this. Hopefully the next time you guys see me, I'll be swinging a Armature LB10, maybe even an LB15 or an LB20. I really want to get these melee skills up to help with the HP growth. I've already got pretty good HP and pretty good defense for my overall levels, but I like seeing things way better than average, not just slightly better than average. So hopefully we're going to just keep on going with it. I've been StevieB with PED. Guys, be sure and hop over to PED because this is actually a video I'm making to accompany an article that I'm writing. If there was something I did not clarify in the video, it will probably be in the article. So be sure and hop over to earnped.com and check out the all-time high blog for the article that this video will be in. It'll go over the same information. It'll also go over some more in-depth stats It'll also give you guys some better examples of a few things and maybe help you with a few more key points that I left out of the video. But I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope that at some point in your career you give Melee a try. I just would not advise it being early on in your career. The first few months, I'd say probably the first 3 months of your journey in Entropia, you need to have fun, make friends, learn the game, try and make some PED. Do some sweating, do some trading, hop over to EarnPed, watch some videos, do some offers, whatever you gotta do, and just enjoy the game. Once you've really got a love for the game, then Melee gets fun. Then it gets exciting. Whenever you don't mind burning 15 PED every 25 minutes for an hour or two on a Saturday, that's when it really gets enjoyable. So when you get to that point, give Melee a try. You might end up liking it more than you think. Guys, for earnped.com, I am StevieB. Be sure and put some information down in the comment section. And guys, if you're ever online, feel free to shoot me a friend request. Feel free to shoot me a private message. I don't mind taking a few minutes out of my day to help players learn how to play better and how to play smarter. Remember, the motto at earnped.com is learn and earn, right? We don't just want you earning PED, we want you learning to play smarter. So be sure and hit me up in-game if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to take some time to talk to you. Hope you guys have a great day, and we will see you again with another video very, very soon. Take care.